Welcome back to Rich Words Music, where today we're looking at this. It's the Harley Benton Rodent. And yes, you did get that correctly. This is Harley Benton's take on the legendary ProCo Rat pedal. Now, the original Rat came out in 1978, and it's been used by pretty much every amazing guitarist since then, and I think pretty much every pedal company's also made their own version of the Rat circuit as well. What it does is amazing overdrives, distortions and fuzzes. The Rat pedal itself is pretty affordable, it's built like a tank, and it sounds great for so many different genres of music. I'm a huge fan myself, and when I saw that Harley Benton had done their own version, I just knew I'd have to spend my money on it. And of course, being a Harley Benton pedal, it doesn't cost that much. This set me back just under 20 euros, so very, very affordable indeed. And the Rodent is part of the new Harley Benton MiniStomp series of pedals. There's over 20 of them in the range, I think, and they do everything from overdrives and distortions through to modulations, choruses, delays, reverbs, etc, 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 and even some more exotic stuff like IR loaders and cab sims. I'll put a link down there so you can check out the rest of the MiniStomp range, but let me just tell you that this is not a sponsored video. I'm such a Rat fanboy, I went out and bought this one with my own money. So what does it do then? Well, we're going to find out with the sounds in a bit, but let me tell you about the controls very quickly. Turn the pedal on and off with the switch there. Here we've got the distortion control, which controls the amount of gain you have. This is the volume control for how loud you want it, and this is the filter control. Now the filter control on a Rat pedal is kind of like a backwards tone control, in that the more you seem to be turning it up, the less highs you have in your tone. So when it seems to be up, less highs. When it seems to be down, more highs in the signal. And here we have a three-way switch, and this toggles between normal, turbo and solo modes, and what I'm assuming that does is give you iterations of three of the different Rat circuits, normal being the standard or the vintage Rat as we know it, turbo being the turbo Rat pedal, and solo being the not very often spotted Rat solo pedal. I've never seen a Rat solo pedal in the wild, so I'm very interested to hear how this one sounds, and that's exactly what we're going to do now. I'm going to play a bunch of different riffs in my favourite style. We're going to run the pedal into the clean channel of my Hughes & Kettner Black Spirit 200 amp head. We'll run that straight into my audio interface, Logic Pro X. I shall be using my Fender Telecaster for the single coil sounds and my Epiphone Les Paul for humbucker tones, so we get a nice mix. We'll play some indie stuff and some classic rock stuff, and as we edge up the game, we'll do harder rock, we'll do some prog rock, some punk rock, and we'll even tune the guitars down to drop D and see if the Rodent can do a bit of chuggy metal as well. At the end, I'll do a loop with each of the guitars so we can really hear the extremities of the pedal when you really twist the knobs to their full extremes. And at the very end, just as a special little gift for all of us, I guess, I'll get my ProCo Rat 2 pedal out as well, and we'll do a loop where I test the two and shoot them out against one another to hear how close the Rodent gets to the classic on which it's modelled. Enough talk then. This is the Harley Benton Rodent from the new Harley Benton MiniStomp series of pedals. Let's listen to it now, and we'll speak in more detail about it afterwards. Okay then, so that was the Harley Benton Rodent pedal, and I hope you enjoyed the tones. Now, as soon as I plugged this one in, I was in Rat territory, and if you know Rat pedals, you'll know exactly what I mean. The Rodent has that circuit, it does the Rat sound, and with the Telecaster and with the Les Paul, straight away I was transported into Rat territory. Now, like I said in the intro to this video, pretty much every company ever has done their own version of the Rat. The circuit seems to be freely out there, and I think there's a bunch of different mini ones as well that you can get, which are probably all made in the same place and look very similar indeed. And I do have an example of that I can show today, because I also own the Moore Black Secret, which looks a little bit like this. If I just put them together there, yeah, you can see that Harley Benton probably didn't do a whole lot of R&D into this pedal. They wanted a Rat circuit for the Rodent, they bought it, they got it, it looks like this, and it sounds like what you just heard, which is very, very cool. Now, I love the Rat pedal because it's super versatile and it has a different flavor to all the other overdrives and distortions that I like to use. I normally am seen with the Greta Lightspeed pedal, so I do the transparent overdrive thing, and that's not what the Rat or the Rodent is about at all. Straight away with the Telecaster, with the gain almost all the way down, you're up in classic rock territory, very sort of raunchy indie, which is kind of what I play a lot of the time. And as you start to edge it up, you get into punk and metal territory very quickly, and the gain, the distortion, becomes overwhelming, for me at least, after about 10 or 11 o'clock. That's just a thing with Rat pedals. It happens with the ProCo Rat and pretty much every other Rat pedal I've ever played, and the Rodent is no exception to that. It's the same with the humbuckers of the Les Paul. There's not much of a clean boost available with this pedal, although you can do it. Straight away with the gain at about, 8 or even 9 o'clock, you're up in hard rock mode with hot humbuckers, and it sounds fantastic. It sounds thick, it sounds punchy, it sounds aggressive, and it's sort of an iconic tone because the Rat has a sound that you can kind of recognize. Some of my favorite players who have used the Rat pedal are guys like Dave Grohl, Kurt Cobain from Nirvana, and Graham Coxon is one of the biggest proponents of the pedal, and they've put it to amazing use on many, many great records. I just want to take a second to say I did do another video about the original Rat pedal where I talk about some of the players who have played it, so I'll link that one for you as well if you fancy watching that after this. So sounds wise then, this pedal does what you would expect a Rat to do. If you're after this kind of distortion, the Rodent would probably be a great first step if you're dipping your toe into Rat territory. Now, the original ProCo Rat pedal is very, very affordable too. It's about 75, 80 euros or dollars as well, and this is about a quarter of that, so much, much cheaper. I don't really want to go go into the whole kind of cloning thing today, there are so many companies making their version of the Rat pedal that it's nothing kind of groundbreaking or new that Harley Benton is doing a Rat pedal. And in fact, I'd say it's kind of a surprise that it's taking them this long to do it, because they do a number of other effects pedals in a similarly cheap price point. So besides the price and the tones then, what I really find good about this pedal is the versatility. Like I said, you've got great different tonal options with a Rat on its own, but here we also have the 3 switches. Now, it's not like you've got 3 different distortion pedals in one with this. They're all flavors of the same ratty theme. But I really like the normal mode and the turbo mode. The solo mode, it didn't get as much use from me, and to me it sounds very similar to the turbo mode, but those 2 modes do seem to be different to the normal vintage mode. They give you a definite volume boost, and you seem to be able to get a bit more tightness when doing more aggressive kinds of music. So if you're playing more modern sort of metally stuff, that might be what you might want to go for with this pedal. If you are going to be playing chuggy stuff or modern thrash, it's probably not something that I would use, but even bands like Metallica have used the Rat pedal in the past and got great tones out of it, so it can even be used for that kind of thing. And if you're not really digging what the normal vintage mode is doing, flick it up to the turbo or the solo modes and you've got a slightly different flavor on the same theme. Now, I guess what I also have to say is that this being a mini pedal means that you can basically fit it onto any pedal board. So if you've got a board with just a little bit of space left, you want to add another gain flavor, but you don't have space for the original big box Rat or something like that, well then this is going to slot quite nicely into the corner of your board. So that's very cool indeed. Now, there are a couple of things that I don't quite like so much about the Rodent. One of them is Rat General, and that's the fact that I don't really get up past 10 or 11 o'clock on the distortion setting before it becomes unusable for me in most musical settings. It's fun to turn it up and do punky and grungy stuff with it, and many other talented guitar players have done great things with a very full-on Rat sound. But for me personally, I need to be down from pretty much nothing up to about 9, 10 o'clock, and that does almost everything I need. In the future, I'd really like to see a company build a Rat pedal that only had that much of the Rat's tone, but through the whole sweep of the distortion knob, because that would let you be a whole lot more sensitive about how you dialed it in. As it is, it can be a bit of a lottery here, because you make tiny adjustments to the gain up to about 9 or 10 o'clock, and it makes big changes to the amount of distortion that you're getting from the pedal. So while I don't really like that, I've grown to live with it. I can control it very well now, and it's something general to all Rat circuits and not just the Rodent design, but something to think about, and something specific to the Rodent and actually to a couple of other cheaper Rat clones that I've played in the past is this sound. Yep, the Rodent can squeal like a rat going up a drain pipe. I don't really know why this happens. I have done testing with my rig, so I've used different guitars, I've used different power for the Rat pedal, I've used different cables, I've made sure that this was the only thing going from my guitar into the amp, so I'm pretty sure that it is specific to the pedal and the other cheap Rat clones that I've used. But basically, yeah, once you go up past 12 o'clock on the distortion, and once you filter in more highs into the tone, you get that squealing, ratty, more piggy actually, noise. It's not something I like very much. For me personally, it's never going to be an issue because I never have the distortion up there, but if that's something which would put you off, then this will put you off this pedal. Again, I've tried it in many different iterations with my rig to make sure that it's not just specific to this very individual pedal, and I'm pretty sure it's not, because as I've said, I've had other Rat pedals before, always very cheap ones, that have done the same as this one. So that's something not to like, and that's something that if you really want to look for an excuse to pay more for a more boutique or for a ProCo Rat pedal, then that will be a reason for you there, I think. So would I buy the Rodent pedal? Well, I did, but for 20 euros, I absolutely would again if I wanted to. It's a really good way, I think, of getting your first first experience of the Rat world. I don't think it sounds exactly the same as the Rat 2 pedal. You can hear that in the loops. There's something just a little bit finer to my ear anyway about the ProCo Rat pedal, but the Rodent is a great way to kind of test out if this style of overdrive, distortion and fuzz works for you. And of course the Rodent has the 3 different modes too, which are not radically different to the original Rat tone, that give you something extra if that's what you want. Now, it's also a very tiny pedal too. It's very affordable, like I said. The build quality feels alright. It's made of metal. It feels like it will handle being stamped on for the next couple of years or whatever. So I'll put it on my board and I'll let you know how I get on with it. There are plenty of other Rat pedals, of course. There's loads of competition out there. If you've got 20 bucks, you're probably going to be looking at something like the Rodent. But if you've got a little bit more, going up to about 50 or 60, there's something like the Moor Black Secret, which is a very, very nice pedal. This one has 2 modes, the turbo or the vintage modes. You can go up then to about 80 bucks for the original and best, the ProCo Rat 2. And I would always recommend the ProCo Rat 2 over the rest of them, just because it is and always will be the original and the best, and upon which all others are judged, and you can't say more than that. But you can, if you want to, go up to boutique territory and have full-on made in USA goodness. This, for example, is the Guerrilla Warfare, and this contains the mythical LM308 chip, which was in the original Rat pedals that were built in the 70s and 80s, and tone hounds say does make them perform a little bit better than the modern Rat 2 pedals. But you have your own budgets, you set your own caps for what you want to spend, and you take your choice. And I think if you've got 20 euros to spend, or like I said, you're looking for a very cheap way in to hear what a Rat sounds like, to hear if it will work for you, the Rodent is going to be an absolutely fantastic choice. That's it for today's video then. I hope you've enjoyed this overview of the Harley Benton Rodent. If you've got any more questions, let me know. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please take a moment to do that. I've got many more Rat videos on the channel. I've got plenty more other pedal videos too. I do stuff with guitars, I do stuff with amps, and I do a lot of interesting interviews and discussions with cool people from the music industry. But that's been it for today's video then. I've been Rich for Rich Words Music, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.